afternoon, everyone. My name is Kiara Moore. I am the General Manager for Arlo Chicago. I would like to welcome you all. It is great to see so many faces, both familiar and new. Today, we're going to talk about the open panel is going to be about, I'm sorry, I got a little nervous. Today's panel is going to be about it's going to be an open discussion, not about what's working, but what's changing. How we're going to keep our team members inspired in an industry that never stops moving, never stops changing. I will allow everyone else to introduce themselves as well.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm AJ Bro. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer for White Lodging. We are a developer, manager, and owner of hotels and restaurants, and we are headquartered in Maryville, Indiana.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Ketterin, VP of Learning and Development for Westgate Resorts. Westgate Resorts is across the United States. We have our headquarters in Orlando, Florida, and we just went through an acquisition with VI, which is Vacation International. So currently growing our portfolio across the timeshare industry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Viviana. I am the Chief Human Resources Officer for East Bank Club. It's a members social fitness club downtown Chicago.
So we are all here in one room to talk about what connects us all, and that is hospitality. So we're going to dive right into what keeps us coming to work every single day. And one of our first questions is going to be, turnover is kind of seen as a fact of life in hospitality. Does it have to be? What have you actually seen work to keep great people around?
You want to start us off?
I'll start us off.
He was like, are you okay with this? Yes, go for it.
Share two. So at White Lodging, we're really doubling down on the human connection. So we are training our leaders to be connected to their folks, focus on the individual needs of their talent, and understand how that drives productivity and specifically business outcomes. So through that, we've looked at many different kind of levers, if you will. There's been a lot of talk already today about culture and engagement. So anything I'm going to tell you is probably reinforcing those facts. But again, focusing on human connection. And the way that we're going about it is to make sure that people are balanced between tasks, activities that have to get done, but also bringing their people along through that. So huge investment in talent development and leadership development. That's kind of what we're doing there. One of the things that I'm super proud of is through that, we've been over the last 3 years, been able to reduce turnover by 30%. And not only use that as a metric, but also look at the business outcomes as well. And we've been able to improve our productivity by X millions of dollars. We're a private company, so I'm not going to share that information. But but we've actually been able to correlate the actions that we are taking in the people function and drive those business results. So pretty proud of that. And more work to be done to the point of turnover. You can't eliminate it fully, right? But you can treat it like a business metric, just like you would, growth and things like that.
So if I can add to what AJ said, we have a program at the frontline level called our Certified Field Trainer Program. I'm sure many of you have field trainers that are out in the field that perform that on-the-job training, but ours is uniquely different because we pay them $1 more an hour all the time. And we've seen that because of that, we can utilize them at the 30, 60, 90-day touch points with those team members. So they don't just see that team member at the beginning for the first, let's say, 5 days of training. They see that team member all the way through the first 90 days, which has allowed us to see a decrease in turnover in the first 90 days in our big 3 departments of housekeeping, engineering, and front desk because we have this program, right? And we position them as coaches and mentors before trainers. So they go through a certification process with us, but we tell them your role is to be a coach and to be a mentor, and then it's to be a trainer, right? That training aspect is important, but the coaching and the mentor piece that they may not always get from their leader immediately at onset, right, during onboarding, they're really getting that with someone hand in hand through the first 90 days.
Yeah, for us with turnover, it has been very focused on data. So I think in my previous group that I attended, they do the Great Place to Work survey. We do too. We have been doing it for the past 2 years, and we really take that survey very serious. We're looking where we're doing very well, and let's continue growing that area. For us, that was our values. Sorry about that. And those areas that were a bit lower. So for us, like communication was an area we want to work on, recognition, making it a bigger deal. And the last 2 years since we've been doing the surveys, those scores for turnover have increased like 3 to 5%. So it looks like it's really working. So we're being very intentional versus before we were kind of guessing. We think this is what the employees want. And now we have recognized, no, these are actually, they wanted reviews back. So we brought them back, and our number in that question went up 11%. So it's really like making a difference for us. So we're really using that data. Yeah.
And to chime in kind of what you're saying, we also participate in the surveys and we take them very seriously. And I think the businesses that in the hospitality that beat the odds in the sector pretty much are focusing on a sense of belonging, recognition. And as Arlo Chicago, we participate in those surveys as well, and we just ranked #1 for Chicago best places in Sun Times for 2025. So being intentional about those things is very important, and hearing what the team members have to say help us to move forward to grow each and every year.
Absolutely.
Now, what's one thing your company does that makes people feel like they're actually growing, not just clocking in and out?
So I can start with that one, and to the point of our certified field trainer program, that's kind of the first step for us. So we are constantly setting that up for them at the onset. When they come to new hire orientation, they're automatically assigned that certified field trainer, and through new hire orientation, we tell them about the certified field trainer program and that after 6 months, they can be a part of it. So we're kind of planting that seed super early on about the growth potential. And then through that, we've set up supervisor paths, manager paths, and all those different tracks. And honestly, listen, we're trying and we're seeing what it produces. And if it doesn't work, we're changing it, right? We just had an MIT program that we realized cost the company a lot of money. We understand growth is important. So we're pivoting, we're trying something new. And I think that's what's really important, is keeping growth at the forefront, but understanding that if the program isn't working and producing the results that you want it to, you can pivot and change, right? You can try new things and go out and see what your peers are doing and speak to those in the industry. But you have to start embedding growth at the very beginning, and getting them to understand that they have that opportunity, whether they want to grow in an upward mobility or they want to grow in different directions.
And to build on that, 2 years ago, we implemented what we call as our Career Pathfinder tool. And so essentially, we built out what the various paths you could take, because the fortunate part about hospitality is there's really limited barriers to entry, right? It's not like you have to have a professional engineering degree or anything, and you can move sideways, upwards, and throughout very different disciplines. So we implemented that Career Pathfinder tool to give visibility to people, to really reinforce that message, like, hey, it's your oyster, right? Go for it. And so through that, we've also expected our leaders to have those types of conversations with their associates, and we actually measure it, because again, as many of you mentioned, what gets measured gets done, right? Yeah. And so we measure that, and right now we're actually averaging 96% of our folks have individualized development plans. Now, not everyone wants to grow upwards in the organization. That's great, but we want them to have a plan around how they're going to continuously improve in the role that they're in today. So that's really where we're spending a lot of our time on, making sure people feel, again, they're growing and not just spinning their wheels in place.
So can I add to that also, something that we did in the engineering department, to the point of not necessarily wanting to grow up. Maybe that individual doesn't want to be a leader, but they do want to grow. So we actually tiered out our engineering team. So we have a Tech 1, a Tech 2, and a Tech 3. So they have the ability to grow and make additional money, right? Because compensation is important, but they're not necessarily growing into a leader role. They're learning new skill sets that's allowing them to be able to take on new calls, right? They may be able to go to this unit and do something in HVAC where before they could only do plumbing, right? So they're learning within those different trades. We partner with an organization and we put a lot of that training in our learning management system, and we set up those paths for them so they can go engineering tech 1, 2, 3, trade tech 1, 2, 3, HVAC tech 1, 2, 3, all while staying within the technical side of the field that they actually like and enjoy, and not necessarily having to take on any of those leadership roles.
Yeah, very similar for us at EBC with the trainers. So the trainers might start and they have their certifications, but part of that new review process was not to focus too much on like the last year, but setting up those individual goals like performance plans. So moving them from a regular trainer to a 360, and by that they're able to make more commission. So making sure like they're getting that, using the tuition reimbursement to get those certifications. And then again, with the survey, we found out that managers wanted different types of training too. So we really focused on this last year on manager training, but not only what's going to get you to get promoted on this role right now, but some of our managers that maybe had started as servers and are now restaurant managers wanted something as basic as Excel training. So we figured out we needed to like do these trainings that were not just to get promoted, but skills for life, right? Now that person can do their budget at home too. So we've been doing a lot of that as to emotional intelligence, a lot of trainings for the managers, and we actually had to do like a mini poll survey as to what do you actually want? What do you mean by I want more training? And based on that, we created the whole year. But yes, with the line staff, now we're seeing them applying for those like 360 trainers. And it's great to see like, okay, what they put in their goals, it's happening. But a lot has to do with the managers really tracking on those, because we have 600 employees, right? So how do you make sure that it doesn't stay on that paper, nobody looks at it again? But we're seeing growth that way for sure.
Absolutely. And how do we show employees a future when the path is not always linear, right?
Absolutely. That for us, we're one property in Chicago, so 600 employees, but I can't, once I see that potential, I can't like just move you, right? So for us, it's like that constant like development within that role, telling stories. I started in food and beverage, and I'm now in HR, right? I did some certifications. Some of the mentors told me like to make a change in my career. So we tried to do that with like our staff and like seeing what are the right places. To continue developing them in that role. I ran a report as we're talking about this, and 50% of our managers started as line employees at EBC. So the potential is there, but it takes time. But it's constantly making sure that those employees are getting those like skills within the property, and that they know that it can happen either on property or you'll be ready to go somewhere else and become that person too.
And it's kind of like what AJ said, right? Like everybody doesn't necessarily want to grow, but us as leaders, it's our job to kind of identify the ones that do. And when you do identify that person, it's letting them know that, hey, no path is the same, right? Everybody's path is going to be different. So at Arlo, we like to create visibility into those paths. We like to cross-train and ensure that we're celebrating lateral moves just as much as we are celebrating promotions, right? Because that next move might not be up, but it could be the move that gives you that range, that confidence to be ready for what's next.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we really focus in on our leadership development is letting those leaders really realize the impact that they can have on their people. Because a lot of times as leaders, you have a list of things you have to get done, right? And you're really focused in on that. And you may miss the point that you're actually helping someone provide for their family, or be able to pay college for their child or something like that. So we really try to raise the conversation up in a lot of our leadership development courses around, hey, your leadership is bigger than what you think it is, and just think about the impact you can have. So therefore, then when we come out and say, hey, we need you to make sure everyone has a development plan, they understand the why behind it. Mm-hmm. It's obviously to help our company, but also the impact that they can have just in society as a whole. So
that's great.
Oh, into the nitty-gritty now. Do you think the new generation of employees even wants to stay long-term? Or is loyalty just taking a different shape? have you noticed a shift in what younger employees value most? Is it titles, flexibility, learning, or purpose?
No, you know, that's I think what a lot of us think. At least I went back to the survey. I really use this survey a lot. And I did a filter of people under 25. And for us, it was 67% had answered that they wanted to stay long-term with this band club. So from my perspective, they do want to stay long-term. So I started kind of like playing with the survey as to like what they like, because I see them, right? So how do we keep them? And for the difference like between groups, for them, safety, it's very important, and not just a physical safety, but the mental safety. There was a lot of like the word, how you collect not just numbers, but you tell people to tell you in words what else they're looking for. There was a lot of like the caring word. They wanted caring managers. Obviously the flexibility is important. All of us work on site because it's my tennis professionals, my receptionists, right? They have to be in person. But we have flexibility through schedules. We try to post them as ahead of time as possible. Some of my departments are posting a month ahead. So those are kind of like the things that, at least from EBC, we saw that it was important. So that caring manager, that recognition, that flexibility, that mental safety, that diversity, inclusion. So we have a council too at EBC, and for them that we're hosting educational or events that they can go to, something that's very important.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that we have learned that through our surveys as well, that they want those leaders that care about them, the leaders that invest in them, and they want the organization to invest in them. So some of the ways that we found to be able to do that is some of the skills that we're teaching them aren't just applicable at work, right? If I teach you financial acumen, you can take that financial acumen and now go home and create your own budget for it, right? And we're looking at a generation, again, I have a child who just went to college, right? And they come out of the education system, unfortunately, not knowing a lot of these things, right? So if we're not teaching them, then who is, right? Because they didn't learn this in secondary education. They're not learning it in college unless they're going for a financial degree, right? When it comes to the financial side. So who's teaching it to them? And I think that's where we see the investment in our younger generation, is that because they get some of that from us, and they see the opportunity to grow, and they see the loyalty of those leaders that they have, they're more willing to stay. And then having leaders that are flexible. I don't think it's just about the organization. You can say that your organization is flexible, right? And have that culture, but is that leader also flexible to that individual and what's going on? Because hospitality is such an ever-changing, like we're moving fast, right? But also being flexible to them and their needs.
I think loyalty, I think it exists with the younger generation. I am not the younger generation. I'll let you guess what I am. But I was having a conversation with one of my peers, actually a couple days ago, around our career journeys. And we were comparing and contrasting how we grew up professionally with the expectations of Gen Z and younger millennials as well. And what clicked for us was like, we actually have the exact same expectations as the younger generation. They're just more vocal about it. So it's like, hey, they're telling us exactly, to your point around data, right? They're telling us exactly what they expect. Yeah. It's on us to say, do we want to actually lean into that and engage them, or they're going to obviously vote with their feet, right? And so it's just kind of pivoting it a little bit and putting the onus back on the employer if we want to retain them.
Yeah. So. I think it's also listening to them too, right? When they speak up, because I think a lot of times that's what's happening is they do speak up and then maybe they get shut down. And so then there's this fear that I'm not going to speak up again because I did speak up once and no one wanted to listen, right? So not just looking at the survey data, but hearing them when they're in the room, right? Actually listening to what they're saying, and being able to be receptive to that, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, or we agree. I think having that conversation and listening to what they really are saying.
Voice
Yes,
is important.
Very important.
I'm right in between, right? So I don't think loyalty is changing. I think it's just different now. Being for myself, right? I remember calling my dad and saying, like, I'm looking for a new job or got a new offer. And he would say like, baby girl, another job. And now as he's seen my career path, he just says like, I know, right? So I've know people who work 10 and 20 and 30 years for a company, and I love it. I respect it. For me, I've not been anywhere more than 3.5 or 4 years. I hope to want to be somewhere for 10 years, but right now in this stage, like I like change. I like to meet new people. I love challenges. So I think it's more so the new generation is looking for growth, but also fun and excitement. And it's not that the loyalty is not there. I think it's more as not going into your tenure or how long you've been with the company, but what did you build in that 3 years? Is there anybody in that building that will remember you 6 years from now? So I think loyalty is kind of turning just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of loyalty, what has kept you guys loyal to your company and your brand that you're with now?
Is this being recorded? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I've honestly, like, a little bit about my career journey. I've been at Westgate for 7 years, and I started out as a trainer. So I was a trainer on a brand new team that was created for the organization on the corporate side, corporate learning and development. And now I get to oversee those efforts of that entire team. So I think for me, it's that I am that vocal person. I always ask the question. I ask the question that I feel like everyone in the room wants to ask, but they won't ask. And it's sometimes gotten me in trouble, right? But it's also helped me grow my career, and it's also helped me learn through asking those questions. And it's kept me loyal because I have the opportunity to be innovative and take a risk and say, I'm going to try this. Like, I think we should do this. Like, I know we've always done it this way. We've been around for over 40 years. We've done a lot of things this way for a very long time, but I'm going to try it. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Try it. Like, what results does it yield? And even if it doesn't yield great results, that's fine. They want to know, like, well, tell us what happened, right? And what did you learn from that? So again, for me, that's why I've stayed loyal. And I am in the millennial range, right? But I think it's really giving me the opportunity to try those things and take risk. So
Yeah. I'm like you, Kira. I moved around a bit. I think the longest time I was with the company was when I was with Soho House for 7 years. Right now, I'm loving East Bank Club, and I have been there for 2 years. But what I see in common with like the different companies that I've worked at is that connection with the values. And I think that's very important to me as to like what they believe is important. Like at East Bank Club, it's like building relationships, strive to improve. Those things for me are very, very important. They're like who I am to my core. I think the same was like when I work with the Alinea Group or with Soho House, like feeling like if it was the passion, like having that connection of the values where I felt like, especially as HR, as I'm like talking the talk, I believe on that. The other piece that's very important for me has been belonging, feeling like I'm not just Viviana from HR. I'm Viviana who is Peruvian, who is a mom, who is a daughter, who is a wife. Like that is so, so important to me. And I try to do that when I'm in the East Bank Club, as to not just knowing this employee works in housekeeping, but you know, what worries her? Like that her daughter is in the hospital. Like I like to know those things. And I think people want to be seen not just like, you know, another number. So I think those are the things that have kept me as to, and then you feel that you can contribute to like the long term, right? As to, I know our employees, our mission is you know, to inspire our community to live well. So I know that our trainers feel, or tennis pros or golf pros, when they come and they say, oh, you know, I talked to my client and they said that they reduced their medicine ABC because this is working out so well. I know they feel good about it. So I think that's important for our teams.
And for me, there's a lot of what you both have already said, but I would add fun. I have to have fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I like challenging work, but having fun through the challenge. I think that's how you get to build deeper relationships, is, you know, by having a little bit of fun and all of that. And obviously believing in the mission is important too for me as well. So
Yeah, the core values are important. I remember on my last round of interviews with Arlo, some of the executive leaders and VPs flew in, and I remember being uncomfortable with how nice they were, right? And I went home and I told my family, I'm like, they are really trying to fill this role, right? And when I look back now, I understand how genuine it was. And I had been in so many places where I was unappreciated that I should not have felt uncomfortable with the niceness. And looking back now, knowing not only was Arlo a good fit for me, but I was a good fit for Arlo. So I think once you have like that mutual investment and understanding, and that's where the loyalty kind of comes from.
Yeah.
So.